I just got off a call with a client and we were talking in part about progress. And I was thinking about how my question was, if you were to draw progress, what would it look like? And the version of progress that we're given in society is either, a line or a line that curves up, right? And in general, the way that our society looks at even just life is very linear, right? You're born, you grow up, you work, you live your life, you get old, you die, right? It's like from A to Z. And the thing is that there was an interesting kind of reflection of like, well, of course it's not just completely linear, right? And it's not also completely just going up like this, because all sorts of stuff happens in life. And, there's ups and downs and U-turns, and it's kind of a little bit squiggly, right? If it were a line, it would be a very squiggly line, because it's not just straight and it's not just always forward moving and upward moving. And so I presented an alternative way to look at progress. And that is that it's cyclical. Like, think about a spiral. And a spiral can spiral out and it can spiral back in. We, as we go through life, are constantly spiraling into ourselves and spiraling out into the world, right? We might have a time where we go into ourselves and we really learn about who we are. And then we have times where we spiral out and we bring that self out into the world. So it's this spiraling in and spiraling out. And if anything, also, it's spherical, right? It's holistic. It's taking in a whole experience. It's not straight. It's not flat. It's not forward or backwards. It's this constant unfurling. Like, even think of a fern. It has that spiraling as it's also unfurling like that, right? Which is really beautiful. And I think that is really how I would define progress. It's not a linear forward, upward moving line, as we like to see in like economic growth, right? Like, we're not charts. We're cyclical beings. Nature is cyclical. It goes through 4 seasons. There's always a birth. There's a coming out into the world. There's a shedding of what we no longer in. There's a dying and coming into ourselves to rebirth again. And the thing is I think once you get older, like if I'm at my point in my life, I can look back on my life and think, oh my God, there were so many winters and summers and springs and autumn seasons of my life, and spiraling in and spiraling out. And it's just such a breadth of experience that we have. And none of it is as I thought it would be. Like I love this saying that says, how to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? Like life, you can have an intention that's really powerful. You can vision, you can manifest. I absolutely believe in that, but we cannot expect and know 100% what our life is going to look like, because also there's this magic to just like let life surprise you. Be open to receiving the life that is wanting to move through you, and our task is to engage with it, right? Not to expect it to look a certain way. It should look like this. It shouldn't look like that. It has to move in this direction. Because then what happens when we have that kind of linear or upward curve of what progress should look like, if we don't match that, we're like, oh, I'm failing, right? I've failed. I've made a mistake. I've gone off the path. I'm doing something wrong. What's happening to my life? We get into this existential crisis. Whereas if we see that everything is spiraling in and spiraling out, and it's cyclical, it's a constant process that is evolving and unfurling, and there is no beginning and there is no end, and there's no up and there's no down, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no success, there's no failure. It's all an experience, and every experience is an opportunity for us to learn, to grow, to deepen, to get to know ourselves more, to find out what has meaning for us in this life. What do we want to experience and express in this life? But, the moment that we get into this linear outlook, and especially when we use the word should, I should be doing this, I shouldn't be doing that, that's living somebody else's life. That's living the opinion of society or parents or peers or the media or God knows who. It's someone outside of you. Whenever we use the word should, it's someone outside of you that you're adhering to, that concept, that belief, that opinion. I think if we were to look that life is not a linear trajectory, it's a cyclical, spiraling, squiggly experience, that's really infinite, to be honest. You know, we're constantly experiencing mini deaths and rebirths all the time. You know, we can constantly reinvent ourselves. That's how we grow and evolve. If we were to take that outlook, I think life would be such a different experience, because we also wouldn't see like, oh, the end of that relationship is a failure, or that job didn't work out, so that's a failure. You know, that's that kind of like, oh, I got there and then boom, like I failed. That's the end. No. That was a spiral that came to its completion, and then another spiral comes out of that. Does that make sense? So like, it's an invitation to just look, what would life look like? How different would it look like if you were to look at it in a spherical, cyclical, spiraling kind of way? How would that open things up? How would it take the pressure off of, I need to get there, and if I don't get there, I'm failing. Something must be wrong with me. Right? You are experiencing life moving through you. You are engaging with it, and you're creating it as you go. You're in a dance with it as you go. But like, get out of the rigidity, get out of the expectation, get out of the pressure of who you should be according to some principle that can change literally from one day to the next, or an opinion that can change from one day to the next. So it's an invitation. Try to reframe and see what that view looks like, how that perspective changes your life and your relationship to yourself, to other people, to everything. Food for thought. Take it or leave it as feels right for you, as always, and loving you from afar. Bye.